Okay, so before you start writing your essay, I'm asking that you write a thesis. Um, to go along with that, as you write your intro, you're going to need to come up with a catchy attention getter and have a bridge between that attention getter and the thesis. Also include three separate preview sentence preview for what your body paragraphs are going to be about in a transition sentence. So let's work on one thing at a time. So let's talk about thesis first. So again, just to remind you, this is your product descriptor. I'm not going to read all this to you. I'm just going to go through one thing. Your main topic is that your essay's purpose is to choose one theme from Of Mice and Men and explain how that theme is demonstrated throughout this novel. You need to pick three characters and explain how these characters demonstrate one of the major themes we discussed, or a theme that you recognize that came through in the novel. You need to have 15 examples of text evidence. You have to have a very effective thesis. You need to have elaboration and support. And, we'll work through all of that. So to start out, let's come up with a thesis. So first of all, you need to choose a topic, whether it's loneliness, the American dream, prejudice, education or miseducation. Come up with a topic in your mind first. The one-word topic will be what you turn into your theme. An example theme would be something like, due to prejudice, many people suffer with isolation and loneliness throughout their life. And you're going to prove that. It's just like in science, how you come up with a hypothesis. This theme is going to be part of your thesis. So the theme is a part of your hypothesis about what you're going to prove in your paper. So again, your theme could be, due to prejudice, many people suffer with isolation and loneliness throughout their life. But that's not your thesis. That's the theme that you're going to work with. Now, how do you turn the topic that you then turn into a theme into a thesis? Well, kind of a easy way to think is a formula mathematically. You need to make sure you mention the title of the book, mention the three characters that you're going to include, since that's what your essay is about. These are your three body paragraphs. One body paragraph about Crooks, one about Curly's wife, and one about Candy. And then you need to state your theme within that thesis too. So here's an example thesis. The characters Crooks, Curly's wife, and Candy from the novel Of Mice and Men display that due to prejudice, many people suffer with isolation and loneliness throughout their life. So now we took that theme, incorporated into how that theme connects to three different characters, turned it all into one thesis, and there we go. And then again, remember, your body paragraphs will be about Crooks, Curly's wife, and Candy. The way you mention them here should be the way they appear in your body paragraph. So body paragraph 1 should be about Crooks, body paragraph 2 should be about Curly's wife, and body paragraph 3 should be about Candy, and then you'd have your conclusion. So intro, body paragraph 1, body paragraph 2, body paragraph 3, conclusion means you'll have a 5-paragraph essay at the end of this. So for tonight, you're going to be writing your thesis, trying to come up with an effective thesis, and we're going to share those out loud in class. So we'll test them with each other. Now again, the impossibility or the idea that the American dream is impossible is a topic you can turn into a theme. Isolation or loneliness can be turned into a theme. The fate, like Fault in Our Stars, like it was meant to happen, it could kind of be a theme, tough to argue out. Prejudice is another one, or you can use the internet to do some research and come up with a theme of your own. How to write your thesis? Again, you want to include the name of the book. So we have Of Mice and Men here. Add a little bit of flavor to it. Add your own voice to it. It has to be your own wording. Don't steal my thesis and reuse it. Don't steal my thesis and change a word on it. I'm giving you an idea, but you have to come up with your own way of writing it. So in the novel Of Mice and Men, which is set in the Depression era, I just mentioned that just because I think it has some context in the story. It really does. Crooks, Curly's wife, and Lenny all experience the negative impact. Again, try and come up with some creative wording. It's not just that they're lonely a little bit. It's a really negative impact. It causes death in the story. It causes a lot of desperation. So they all experience the negative impact of loneliness brought on in various ways, because they're all lonely in different ways, through isolation. And there would be an example thesis. So again, your thesis, you want to name the novel, mention your 3 points, mention the characters, and then you got to turn it into your own words, your own original wording, your own flavor. You're going to have to play around with it. The thesis sometimes takes me half an hour of revision to write. Avoid in your thesis using vague words. Some people think maybe try and add very specific wording. Um, some people are lonely in many ways. That's so generic. You need to get more specific. But again, your thesis can't be your theme statement shouldn't have to do with the specific characters in the book. Your theme statement should be a universal idea, but then when you get into your thesis, you're going to add in specifics to the book with that theme. Don't copy my thesis, and don't use cliches. Please, please, please test your thesis with me, with other people in the class, and say, does this sound like a cliche? A cliche is an overused statement, like you are what you eat, or all that glitters is not gold, or 'tis better to have loved and lost than never loved at all. It's a saying. It's an idiomatic expression. An idiom is something that someone says, and a lot of times is overused. So don't use cliches. Here's an example thesis worked in with a example body paragraph here. And then I put an attention getter, which we'll talk about here as well. So I'm just going to read the thesis here, just the thesis. The novel of Mice and Men uses the characters Crook, Curly's wife, and Lenny to display that the American dream is often unattainable. Well, then what you want to do, once we have this thesis, as we start to write this body paragraph, you have to come up with something that's going to get my attention. So you're going to put your attention getter here, cite it if you take a quote or something from the internet, cite the website, and then you need to provide a buffer, meaning a sentence between your attention getter, which can be multiple sentences. Your attention getter can be multiple sentences. Your buffer can be multiple sentences. Then you work into your thesis. Then you'll work into your 3 separate preview sentences. Again, 3 separate preview sentences. And those will be here. And then you have to have a transition sentence at the end. Now let's just focus for right now on the attention getter. So your thesis here is about the American dream and Crooks, Curly's wife, and Lenny not being able to attain it. So how do we come up with a good attention getter? Well, I looked around on the internet, spent a good half an hour doing research of different quotes, and I found this one that I like that ties into my overall essay. Sometimes you'll write the whole essay and find the attention getter at the end, but that's, again, that's up to you. I put the former leader of the NAACP. The NAACP is the National Association for Colored People, a group that works to help the advancement of African American individuals. It started a long time ago when civil rights were really being fought for. So the former leader of the NAACP, Benjamin Todd, once said, "No person can maximize the American dream on the minimum wage." I like that quote because it really is about how these guys are struggling to live, and even nowadays, especially since 2008 with our economy falling apart, that the American dream is great in your head, but really getting it with not having a lot of money, like Lenny and George and Curly's wife and Candy, again, they're struggling with money. How are they going to get that? So that really does tie into their inability to attain the American dream. So how do I work from that to the thesis then? Well, this is about not being able to achieve the American dream because of getting a minimum wage or not a lot of money. So then I added, again, a buffer here, which you have to do. The struggle and inability to earn enough to feel you can obtain the American dream has been going on for centuries in our country. The novel of Mice and Men uses the characters Crooks, Curly's wife, and Lenny to display that the American dream is often unattainable. So you see, I took a quote here about the American dream and about minimum wage, kind of led you from that quote, or from that attention getter, into your thesis by restating something about the American dream and having effect for a long time. So a couple examples of things you can use for attention getters are starting with an unusual detail, like a random fact, maybe a random fact about the American dream, or a random fact about something that ties into what your essay's about. Not like, hey, did you ever know that cucumbers are grow out of the ground? Like, I don't want a random fact, an unusual detail that ties directly into your essay. A strong statement about something. The American dream is unattainable for 75% of people because minimum wage is all they earn. Like, maybe you look up something like that. You can open with a quote. I love this, but the quote has to tie into your overall theme and overall message of your essay. And then you want to cite that quote. Give me the website that it came from. And then create a bibliography, a works cited page at the end using easybib.com. Okay, don't just throw a quote in there and leave it. You have to go into easybib.com and cite. You can start with an anecdote. An anecdote is a story. So story about yourself, a story